Okay, I'm ready to go. We're recording.
Okay, well, it's Saturday afternoon in Singapore, 3 p.m. A massive welcome to Mike. I've known you for many years. Tell us a little about your story and let's get the show on the road.
All right. Okay, Dylan. Yep. Thanks for having me. So just a little bit about myself. I'm a Kiwi. So the first thing I should say is congratulations, South Africa, on the Rugby World Cup. And what a magnificent win. Yeah, absolutely. I had some Saffers with me watching and I was as delighted as they were, I think. Hats off. How to lift how to peak at the right time. What a lesson.
Yeah.
What a lesson in athlete management on preparation and the whole bit. So anyway, so that's a sport was a pretty big part of my life growing up in New Zealand, just like you, because I know you played a lot of sports. I wasn't particularly very good at a lot of them until I discovered multi-sport, and I discovered I could run okay and I could cycle pretty well, and that led over the years. I've been bike riding 50 years, combination of road racing, velodrome, specialist time trial, and then I discovered one fine day when I came to Singapore 20 years ago that I could actually swim okay, and so that led to a fair bit of time spent competing and doing okay as an age grouper, a few national championships here and there, national team as well, and then I morphed into coaching for around 10 years, and over the time around 50 athletes. So fairly ingrained in the DNA has been movement, has been trying to figure out what marginal gains look like, and I could say categorically, I always overtrained. I always had a lack of faith and belief in that was enough, and I could say that I almost never recovered properly or didn't know how to do it. So that was the genesis of the idea of recovery systems, which really started back 20 years ago, and with a medical project. And here we are today. We're about 5 years in.
That's brilliant, man. What a success story, right? Coming back, just rewinding just a slight little bit, do you prefer being an athlete or being a coach?
It was a hard job doing both, because as an athlete, you need to be fairly single-minded. Probably the word selfish would be a fair word. There's probably nicer words to use than that. But as a coach, you really there's not too. I competed and coached at the same time for a period of time, but it was hard going, and you really you really have, as a coach, you have your athlete's best interest at heart, and it's difficult keeping your eye on what, being completely focused on what you're doing at the same time. So it became a natural progression to move from competing to actually move into almost full-time coaching. Then my relationship with exercise changed to being one of well-being, and trying not to break myself, because I had a couple of surgeries along the way that weren't particularly nice and took a long period to recover from. Hence,
absolutely, man.
Yeah, hence the reinforcement of I never got recovery completely nailed.
And as you say, 5 years ago, you kind of initiated and started this lovely company called Recovery Systems. Tell us a little bit about that, and how that kind of just has evolved into this kind of three-headed beast.
Yeah, well, around 7 years ago, I tried this thing called Intermittent Compression. There was a company that's been fairly established in this category of recovery called Normatec. Good company, really good. And I thought, you know what, this is really good stuff. But I felt that the price point was out of reach of most people. And what I learned along the way was there were some features that they were maybe missing a trick on as well. So we set about to try and do a better job, and also to bring product within reach of the weekend warriors, everyday athletes,
Okay.
right through to elite and professional setups.
So accessibility was your kind of main focus coming off that for the everyday user, as you say, and not just elite athletes.
Yeah, that's right. So, you know, if I wanted to put just a peg in the ground from a price point, our products start out at around $750, which if you compare it to, say, for example, the cost of a massage, and we'll go into the difference between what we do and what a massage does a little later on. But then we looked at modality, like, you know, could you travel with it? Could you put it in your backpack? You know, could you get it down to 500 grams so it could fit in your backpack? So even while you're sitting on this podcast, you could be under the table. Recovery is going on whilst you're carrying on your, the desk part of your job. So we looked at all those type of modalities.
It does sound massively attractive and convenient as well. I think you mentioned the word intermittent compression just a moment ago. Can you tell us a little about that and what are the benefits of that about intermittent compression?
Okay, well, intermittent compression's been around the medical world for around 30 years. It's been used to treat a lot of medical conditions. And that is, by the way, a third of our business is treating diabetes, lymphedema, swelling related to those, DVT, and other vascular conditions, including, say, for example, pre- and postnatal or pregnancy-related swelling, in other words. So intermittent compression is a squeeze phase and a release. So I'm of the boot squeezing from the foot to the thigh. And in doing so, it's moving, in simple terms, it's moving the bad stuff out on a 1 minute squeeze phase, then a release phase of around 20 seconds. It's bringing the good stuff back to speed up the healing, you know, nutrients and so on, the healing, recovery, and ultimately what you're looking for, Dylan, is gains.
Yeah, 100%. And how long would this process usually take, last for at least?
Normally, a treatment session could be 20 or 30 minutes, but you may have an athlete that has a 30-hour load in their week, 30 hours of training. They may be training 2 or 3 times a day. Not uncommon in your game with CrossFit for sure. So you've got to bounce back from those sessions. So short recovery sessions will help you to bounce back from that. But probably the most important time of day to use it is before bed.
Yeah.
In most cases, it knocks people out.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, you know, you're going to discuss massaging a little bit later, but you know, even going for a good massage can definitely have that effect as well. Yeah. Obviously, it's the body relaxing and the parasympathetic system kind of taking over, and the body coming into that kind of rest and digest phase that puts you to sleep, I can imagine. Yeah.
So the parasympathetic system is very important in that process. It's triggered, and we've seen in a lot of instances at races where we've been doing the recovery afterwards, and we'd love to get along to a CrossFit Games one of these days and do the recovery in between heats as well. And most people are falling asleep. So this is the parasympathetic system kicking in, because most of that recovery is the nervous system. That's what's registering the pain.
Absolutely. And you know, we kind of have to chat a little bit about athletes and who are your customers and athletes using the product.
Yeah, so it's everyone from weekend warriors and I'm going to say non-professional athletes, and that really also includes some very competitive athletes that are probably they're not doing it full-time, making a full-time living out of it, but it is their passion. And what they're trying to do is balance the equation, the energy requirements between work, their passion for training and sport and competing, and their family life. So there's a whole recovery equation in there in order to make everything work, because nobody likes it when you fall asleep on date night, Dylan.
100%, man.
So
yeah, if you haven't recovered,
yeah,
you
yeah,
better
exactly.
make sure, man, you have recovered.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a real life example, because we're all needing to be functioning human beings, and the other things that we're doing as well. So it's everyone from those folks. We've got a lot of in Singapore. The national NSAs are our customers, and apologies for my image jumping around. I hope it's not putting folks off. I am here. I'm not here and gone. I am here. But we tried to fix that, but it seems as though we need to persist. So thank you for your patience with that. So we've got rugby, football, kayaking, canoeing, basketball, athletics, NSAs in other countries, Indonesia, the high performance sport, Indonesia, high performance sports, Singapore, the science arm of Singapore's sport customer of ours, New Zealand Rugby, and we have a contract with them around some tournaments that they run. Probably our biggest client to date is the Rugby World Cup. Last year. So we won the contract to supply. It wasn't a sponsorship deal. They liked what we were doing. We had several calls with them. We talked to them about different recovery scenarios, and we kind of, in a way, consulted based on a lot of big events. We've done everything from Ironman to bike races to Spartan races and so on. So we gave some inputs, and they liked the sound of it and gave us an order. And so for us, Rugby World Cup was a double delight, seeing South Africa win. If it wasn't the All Blacks in South Africa, are just fine. But Absolutely. we were really emotionally invested in that, knowing that we were really involved. So and then
sounds like a massive, quite a broad spectrum of people, I must say.
Yeah, well, look, even here in Singapore, for example, national team members of triathlons and cycling, they're sports that aren't particularly greatly funded. All those guys spent their own money to buy what we do, because they know what marginal gains look like.
The 1% rule, right?
Absolutely. Well, 1% is compound over time. So if you've got a, you're going for fittest man in Singapore, it's a journey of marginal gains between now and competition time, whenever that is. So
absolutely, man. And tell us a little about kind of, is this designed for daily use, weekly? Give us a bit of insight into how often we should be using the system.
Yeah, so it's a daily use scenario, and in, say, for example, your case, I would say it should be at least twice a day. I would say, as a fitness professional, it should be something that you should be introducing to your clients as well, because really, aside from faster recovery, it's also it's giving soft tissue a helping hand as well. Because when you think about soft tissue areas, they're not on a major arterial route, and therefore they don't get a fair go from a blood supply point of view. That's why things like ligament injuries take a long time to heal, because they're not on a major blood flow area. So we're actually pushing the blood in at quite a bit of pressure. Give you an example. A compression sock, for example, is around 20 mmHg of pressure, and it's static. It's holding things, and it'll only work when you're moving, because then you're getting kind of a squeeze from the muscular. Right, and that's good. Whereas, so that's 20. Our leggings, for example, are 240 mmHg, and they're squeezing foot to the thigh. So there's a big effect, and that squeeze and release, the magic happens in two ways. The squeeze, as I mentioned, bad stuff out. The release phase, good stuff back, to complete the process of healing, recovery, and gains. So we've also got different cuffs for different body parts. So the first place you should try or the first place you should use, and for most athletes, are the legs, furthest most point, lymphatic systems involved, and it's going to help trigger that parasympathetic healing as well, which is very, very important. We have arms, we have torso, we have hip and glute. And just about to release is something I want you to try when it arrives, and that's we're calling it Super Pants. Good name. foot.
Does it do anything else?
Well, a foot to the waist, from the foot to the waist. It's really a combination.
Glutes, everything, yeah.
Yeah. So last time I checked, you guys are using your power muscles a lot, and
That's all day long,
yeah, all day long, absolutely. So that's also so that's been a combination. Now, another point of difference is about 18 months ago, I came up with the dumbest business idea ever. And that is to put 2 people on one control unit. So I didn't think like a business person. I thought like a coach. And pretty much every team and club and family that have bought that system, which it's called a duo system. Duo, 2 people sharing. Every family, team, and club that we've sold to have been delighted with that. So I thought like a coach. And remember, the reason why we started this business was to put what we do in the hands of people that need it the most.
Absolutely.
And to think of ways that we can improve on ideas that have been around for a while, because their units are quite powerful compared to, say, some that are in the market. We're around double the pressure. We have the capacity to run a second person. So a scenario for that would be a family might have, or a club or a team might have hip and glute on one side of the unit and leg cuffs on the other side, or they might have arm cuffs in there as well.
Absolutely. And what is the big difference between hypothetically, wearing or using the recovery systems compared to going for a massage?
Yep. Okay. So I get asked this question a lot. A good sports masseuse, and I've always said this, a good sports masseuse is worth their weight in gold. It's that thing you should be doing once a month or thereabouts. And you're probably going to be crying. Well, I do anyway, because there's going to be elbows, there's going to be, so what that is about is breaking down a scar tissue, lengthening muscles out, and that's a necessary part of helping muscles to behave, help them to lengthen out, help them to be functioning well. That's a necessary part of our business, or as our practice as athletes. So that's something you do, say, once a month. Do we replace that? No, we don't. However, the use case for our product is daily or twice daily.
Okay,
What we're doing is something that a masseuse cannot do. So we can't do the scar tissue thing, and that's really good. So the other thing I'd point out is, I don't know about you, but normally after I've had a sports massage, and this is quite common, most people are worse before they're better.
Yeah, it does take some time, and my kind of best results with a sports massage are definitely getting them kind of quite consistent. And as you say, you're going once in a blue moon, the anxiety and pain you've built up after that is like, I think it can be quite often counterproductive, because your system is in such overdrive because you've been probably gripping onto that bed for the last half an hour or hour. And it put your whole body into kind of fight or flight. And so you definitely have to go much more regularly. And then that also comes at a cost, right? Decent sports massage in Singapore, I know, is probably about $100 to $150.
Yep. So
and then you've kind of already done it,
Yeah, so if you do the ROI, say for example, and I know they're not exactly the same thing. If you've got 2 athletes in the family and they're using recovery systems daily, so that's 14 treatments a week times say $70 if that was an
Yeah.
alternative treatment out there. The ROI, I think that in the industry, we've got one of the fastest ROIs of any product in the industry. And when I talk to people, we have customers here in Singapore from day one, and I see them at races, and they come up to me smiling, and they say, best thing I ever bought. I use it multiple times a week, every week. And I can tell you that they'll say to me, I've bought tons of things over the years, and they're sitting in the cupboard. You know, most people call it the cupboard of disappointments. You know, I think we've all got the cupboard like that. And yeah, well, we're delighted. We're delighted that their folks are getting still getting benefit. They're still seeing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And probably that's one of the best things. Why Instagram's growing quite quickly is we've got a bunch of it's not because we're particularly clever at social media. We're learning, but it's because we've got a bunch of raving fans out there who are our everyday weekend warrior customers.
The testimonials are on point.
Yeah,
I actually read through a couple the other day, and they all sound absolutely amazing, man. Magic stuff.
Yeah, we're delighted. So we love seeing those folks at races. And so the one thing that we've done is we haven't stood still. So that the guy that bought the product 4 years ago, within a product family, we have a couple. We have a battery version, which is a Black Max Pro. That's kind of like our flagship. And we're about to turn that into a duo. I mentioned 2 people sharing. Yeah, and that's the one that will have the super pants. So that's the one I'm going to get you to have a play around with. And I think and then a Blue Max, the Blue Max series, which is mains powered. So you plug that one in. So everything that we've bought out subsequent within that family range is backwards compatible. So
brilliant.
Nobody's ever said to us, hey, why didn't you tell me you were bringing out a new cuff, because it won't fit this machine. They all fit. Within the product family, we've added on. We've done a very poor job of our email marketing, telling people about it, but we're getting better.
It's about integrity, right? As well, I think, and people really value that as you've gone forth.
Yeah, well, we asked ourselves the question, what would we want? And when we started this off, and we wanted value, we wanted functionality, and we wanted something that was, that represented good value for the long haul as well.
100%, man. Straight back into it. So as a warm-up, tell us a little about kind of how you potentially can use a machine during your warm-up process. And tell us a little about the supporting data on muscle oxygen boost as well.
Yeah.
Quite interesting topic.
Yeah, really cool stuff. So what we found was 10 minutes on the recovery systems would bring your muscle oxygen, because we've got ways of measuring it. We've got muscle oxygen sensors. We'll bring your muscle oxygen up to a point that's probably above your 40-minute warm-up. So 10 minutes on the recovery systems, you're better off, you're at a higher muscle oxygen than what it would take you 40 minutes. So you imagine this.
Saving you a lot of time, man. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is there's a low metabolic cost for doing that.
Yeah, as well.
And so if you want to focus on a PB on a lift, for example, I don't think you want to be burning too many matches along the way before you get there. So the whole warm-up scenario is a really good one. So I've got one of my Spartan races. I'll mention her, Jessie Montague. She's one of the top females in Southeast Asia, and she uses the recovery systems every morning before she starts training, because she's under a pretty intense training load. A lot of my athletes do, and a lot of my athletes in colder climates do as well. So, for example, Olympic velodrome rider Liv Podmore in New Zealand, currently coming into New Zealand winter. She's priming before she goes out, or before she does a gym session, a velodrome session, or whatever she's doing for the day. She does a preload or a prime on the recovery systems before she gets into her activity. When you think about it, as a fitness professional, I bet you with all due respect, a lot of your clients will come to a session rushing because they've just come off a conference call or whatever, and then they're trying to get into their valuable time with you underdone.
Yeah.
They
100%.
They would be better coming rather than doing too much of a mechanical, which would take too long. They would be better off doing 10 minutes or even 8 minutes is shown to be really, and you'll see they'll still need to do some mechanical movement, of course, because
correct movement patterns, etc. Yeah.
But this is a super good biohack for a warm up for pretty much all of us that are time poor and try to cram too much in.
Everyone in Singapore. So going back to the age-old saying of the term RICE, kind of rest, ice, compression, elevation, especially for injuries. Tell us a little about ICE and why not to use this as a part of your treatments?
Yep. Okay. So ICE is a modality based on modern science. ICE is not favoured now for recovery. It is favoured for trauma.
Yeah.
Now, let me give you an example. We work with New Zealand Rugby, for example. Hematomas, bruising tackles. This is an appropriate, or sprains and strains. So instantly, this is an appropriate moment to use ice because you want to control bleeding and you want to use it as a form of pain relief. However, it will mitigate muscle gain, and it will delay healing ultimately, because the first phase of healing is inflammation. Now, on the other hand, so use ice if there's trauma. So, for example, one of my customers messaged me yesterday. She had a knee surgery a while back, and prior to that, she was using recovery systems for day to day. She had some biomechanical issues that ended up being knee surgery. She overdid it yesterday, and she messaged me, should I be using compression? I said, yes, you should. And by the way, because you have some pain right now, how about putting a gel pack inside the cuff around the injured area, and then zip it up and put the pressure down to about 1/3 of what you'd normally have. So then you've got the magic thing is there, you've got ice compression therapy, ICT.
Yes.
So that would be, so there's a hack where, and there's some an occasion where I think using ice in combination with what we're doing would be a good idea.
Yeah, quite novel, man.
Yeah,
and so it sounds like something special that you guys have kind of come up with and tried and tested a good couple of years into it. What kind of separates you from your category of competitors?
Yeah, so there's quite a few choices out there, which is good. In fact, there's alternatives as well, like the guns and so on that we've seen. We do something slightly different. Intermittent compression has kind of been an evergreen product over the years. It's been around 30 years. What sets us apart, we looked at how do athletes use it. It's designed we've got a group of designers that we consult with. They're all athletes. I've had that background myself. And then we look at how we look at functionality around the cuffs. For example, we've got a knee length product that will fit in your backpack. It's 500 grams. So why did we create something so small? Up to the knee, you're getting 70% as effective as a full length cuff in a very portable form factor. So you can use that product on an airplane.
Yeah, brilliant.
So
for those for businessmen,
DVT prevention and a whole bunch of other things. And if you look at the national cycling team, a bunch of those guys have got a full length cuff. That's their home recovery, and they'll take the portable one, the mini, with them, because by the time they pack bikes and wheels, they've got no more luggage allocation.
Absolutely.
So they'll take the mini with them. And then we looked at modality pressure. We tend to be around twice the pressure of our competitors. We tend to have more treatment modes. There's a couple of main ones, peristaltic and sequential. Now, I'll briefly touch on those. I'll put a diagram up as well. Peristaltic, a cuff split into 4 or 6 zones. Peristaltic is squeezing from the foot, then release, then moving up a zone, second zone, squeeze, release, third zone, squeeze, release, fourth zone, and so on. That's peristaltic.
Okay.
That's an appropriate treatment modality for some medical conditions. The other mode is sequential. So squeeze the foot, then squeeze the second, continue on third, fourth, then release. That's sequential. Most athletes favor that because, of course, with athletes, more is better, isn't it, Dylan? Faster is better, more weight.
It just sounds more attractive even when you're explaining it.
Yeah, it does. So that's favored. And we have the ability to zone control. So let's say you've had a mishap with your foot. It's a bit sore, and you want to take the pressure off that and treat everything else. So we can zone control, turn that zone off, have everything else work. And then we work into the duo systems, which is a world first. The knee length version was world first to the best of our knowledge, and the duo mode was a world first as well.
Like really, really awesome. Where can people, post circuit breaker, whatever it might be, where could people give this lovely system a try?
Well, if you really, if you like the sound of it, if you're serious about your sport and you want to really do something great for yourself around recovery, we've got we're about to announce. So anyone that reaches out through your show, particularly for we can do this easily in Singapore or New Zealand. For anyone who seriously wants to try it for a couple of days, we'll allow a try-buy situation. So if after 2 days they discover, no, this isn't for me, we'll pick it up. We'll get a courier to come and pick it up. So there's a quick way that they can do a trial of it.
Absolutely.
After circuit breaker, and as soon as our pants arrive, our super pants, I want you to try that, and I'd like to have that down where you are at UFIT or wherever you may be.
100%.
Yeah.
No, it sounds good, man. It sounds really productive, and it's been an awesome kind of good couple of minutes with you, and the company's taken off nicely. Where else could people find you with regards to social media platforms, etc.?
Yep. So we're on Instagram. Recovery Systems. Recovery Systems Sport is our is our website. You'll find us through our through our Instagram as well. Just click on our website link. We'll post this video on that, and we want to post something for Built Not Broken as a discount code. So we're going to offer you the 2-day trial, and we would like to offer your clients and your listeners for the next month, say to the end of June, 10% off any of our products. So we'll at checkout just use the famous code Built Not Broken, and it'll all work magically.
That was great. Thanks, Mike, for your time. And we look forward to giving those magic pants a go, or the super pants, as you call them.
Super pants,
should be rather interesting.
Yeah. All right, great.
Anything else from your side, mate?
No, it's been great catching up. Thank you very much. And